What's going on, guys? I'm Tommy and I'm coming at you with an action figure review. Today I'm going to be reviewing Hasbro the Black Series Geonosian Warrior from Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. When this figure got revealed earlier this year, I was ecstatic. This figure was on my personal top 12 for Black Series Most Wanted, and though he didn't make the community top 12, I know that a lot of people were super stoked to see this brand new, very unique looking army builder make his way into the Black Series line. The Geonosian Warrior is a fan channel exclusive release for the Black Series here in 2026. Fan channel meaning that you're not going to find this figure at big box retailers like Target or Walmart, but places like GameStop and online retailers like Big Bad Toy Store will be carrying this figure. He comes in the standard packaging for the Black Series in 2026. On the front of the box, we have the Black Series logo, a big plastic window showing you the figure and all his accessories. Over here in vertical text, you have the character name, as well as that he is number 11 in the Attack of the Clones subline. Down below the window, we have a bright red banner for the Attack of the Clones subline, as well as the name of the movie and some logos and legalese down at the bottom. On this side of the box, we have our mural image here, and you can see a very interesting, this is almost like a Giga Chad Geonosian. I'm not sure what's going on with the eyes. They look a little too human to me, but aside from that, everything else looks great. You can see the Geonosis arena in the background, character name at the bottom here, and then on the back of the box, we have some of the stuff we've already seen, like our Black Series logo, that same mural image we saw on the side of the box, blown up a bit, the character name, and then a bio in about 1,000 different languages. This bio reads, Geonosians are insect-like beings, complete with wings and nesting in colonies, who conspired with the Separatists to develop plans for the first Death Star. We reiterate the Geonosian is number 11 in the Attack of the Clones subline. Down below that, we have all our legalese. Guys, please don't feed this action figure to your babies. On this side of the box, we have our wraparound window, wraparound banner, and our Black Series logo. On the bottom of the box, we have even more legalese, and on the top, nothing. That about wraps it up for the packaging, so let's get this guy opened and we'll check him out. Alright guys, here's the Geonosian out of the box. Now before we take a look at the figure, we have several different accessories to take a look at first. So one of the cool ones here, and this was something that I always would have wanted with a Black Series Geonosian release, and might I say, before we even go any further, I can't believe this actually exists in the Black Series. When I put this on my Black Series Most Wanted last year, it felt like a pipe dream. It felt like a figure that would be in the distant future, or maybe never to be seen at all, and I really can't believe that this action figure is sitting on my desk right now. I'm super excited about it. But in my ideal mind's eye of what I would want this figure to be, it would have included fluttering wings as opposed to just the basic wings that he comes with on the figure. And what did Hasbro do? They included a set of fluttering wings. So there's one for the right side, one for the left side. It's pretty easy to tell which is which because the edges of the wings here, I guess, kind of stick towards the outside. So it's pretty easy to tell which is which. These are identical. They're just mirrored. And the way that they're done is really cool. You can see here at the base, you have a clear ball joint, which goes into another ball joint here, and then it makes it so that the wings can actually move independently of each other. That is just a really cool feature and something that I'm really excited about with this release. You can see that towards the edges of the wings, they gave it a much more vague look to it, and you can see it's a lot thicker at the edges here than it is at the base of the wings, and that's really to give it a good motion blur effect that the wings are actually fluttering. I think that that was really well done. It was a great choice to give it that very opaque look, and you can also see just some basic detail here as far as paint goes for the base of the wings. In addition to the wings, we also get a flight stand, another thing that in my mind's eye I would have ideally wanted with this figure. Black Series seems to be going with this conical look for the flight stands for the line, and that to me is good because it makes it uniquely Black Series. It's different than what you see with Mafex, SH Figuarts, and other import lines that have very similar styles of articulated flight stands. I think this works just the same. You can see it looks a little bit back heavy, like it wants to fall backwards, which is great for counterbalancing once the figure is attached to it. We'll definitely take a look at this later in the review. And then finally, of course, we have our Geonosian Sonic Blaster here. So this is the way it looks when it is right side up. So there were some people in my Discord asking me and kind of debating about what is the right side up look, because you would think it would be like this, because that's how a human weapon would look. However, it is for the Geonosian something like this. They largely fire these at the hip. You can see it's got some nice green paint application here for the Sonic shot to go out. These little pieces that protrude on the front are in some flexible plastic here. It's got some good color to it. Very basic sculpted detail and very basic paint detail, but for a blaster and a character that was entirely CGI when this movie came out back in 2002, I think they did a pretty good job with the sculpted and painted detail. Now, let's take a look at the Geonosian Warrior. So I kind of want to make a blanket statement about the entire figure before I go into the intricate details of it, and that is just how much of a feat of engineering it was to get this figure out. I was honestly expecting, when I pulled him out of the box, to have to really, mess around with the ankles and the legs. He's got, that kind of dog leg hinge, and he's got a regular knee hinge up here. I expected him to be like falling all over the place, but everything feels out of the box very secure. Everything feels very good and very sturdy, and I think it's going to make for a really fun figure to pose, which has me excited. So starting off with the head here, you can see they did a great job with the insect-like texture of the skin. It looks humanoid almost, but you can see lots of details here that are very bug-like. They did a great job too of applying some very light paint applications to different pieces of the skin, and we'll definitely talk about all the different shades and colors that are going on throughout the body, because it changes from body part to body part. Largely though, the color palette remains with this sort of grayish brown, the brown plastic being the base color, and then this green color that you can see right here on the sides of the mandibles. The tusks on the mouth are painted in a nice off-white color, and you can see they did paint the eyes in more of a reddish brown color too, just to give it a little bit more detail. The nostrils are sculpted in nicely. He's got a lot of great detail all over the head here. The neck looks great too. There's a lot of sculpted detail to the neck, and I wanted to show that because it is something that is obstructed. If you have the Geonosian facing forward, you're not really going to see that detail, but if he's looking up or looking side to side, you'll see that really nice detail there. And again, that insect-like skin, it has a great sculpted texture to it. You've got this really nice gold piece, which is just a separate piece of plastic, and as you can see, it's very malleable, so it shouldn't be breaking if you drop the figure, God forbid. On the front here, you can see some very light paint apps here with some, again, that off-white color here, and then some red on the front on that little jewel there. This also has some great detail that wraps around to the back of the figure with that third little spike that protrudes out of the back of the neck. And then here are probably my favorite detail about this figure, the standing wings. So I'll just kind of move the figure back a bit, stand him up again. As you can see, again, very easy to do. He's pretty sturdy. The wings are, again, amazing. I don't want to get too much into articulation yet, but the way that these work is so intricate, and it allows for so much range of motion. You can see that all four wings in the stationary position have all the little veins that would go through like what reminds me of like a pterodactyl or a bat wing. You can also see here they added in some like orange and some yellow and some brown, some green, and it really gives off a great look here. And then when the light hits it, it looks even better because you can feel, if you run your fingers across the wing, there's little, almost again like veins or ridges in the sculpt itself. So it looks really nice. Something that is a little bit off-putting to me about this figure is that we're all like, I guess, like the armpits and the inside of the elbows are, the inside of the dog leg and everything. It's a much lighter shade of almost like tan as opposed to the darker brown here. And that, I guess, is fine for the contrast of the figure to make it not look like he's all the same color, but it's definitely very bright. As for the arms, you can see lots of that green and that darker brown, and it's blended very well into the arms here. And I really like how that feels very consistent from the upper arm down to the forearm, and you can even see that on the inside of the forearm down at the wrist, they have more of that darker brown color. The hands are sculpted really nicely too. You can tell that the right hand is more of a C-gripping hand to hold the grip of the blaster, and then the left hand is more of an open outstretched hand, which also works great for an open idle hand. You can see the little skirt or sash that he wears here is a loose overlay, and that is because if you look back here, they very cleverly sculpted this so that when it lifts up, you can see at the abdomen of the Geonosian there's the hole for the flight stand here. I will say they did a great job too of making it so that this lays very nicely, but if you put that flight stand in, you can still have the front of the sash flush with the front of the body, so it doesn't look like it's sticking out and make it look weird. They really did a great job of getting all that detail, both with paint and sculpt, in the center mass and the thorax and the abdomen. Look at all the detail underneath that metal sash there. That is such great paint detail there. Lots of different colors, lots of speckling going on. The sash itself has some really nice blending of that same gold plastic that these little horns are done in. You can also see there's some brown and some red painted on, and it just looks so good. Again, so much great, very intricate sculpted detail, especially in this little piece here, and I'm very, very happy with how it turned out. As for the legs, we go back to a very insect-like anatomy with some proportions that are very different than that of the human anatomy. You can see the dog leg here, and I love how when you bend that dog leg, this piece of this middle section of the leg, the sculpt protrudes over the joint, and it just looks so good. So when he's standing up straight, it doesn't even expose the hinge there. That looks great, and all the green going on back here. And again, we have that very light color mixed in, and here I don't mind it as much on the legs. It's not as jarring, and the more I look at the figure, that lighter color becomes less and less jarring to me. But you can see we've got lots of that brown painted texture on the fronts of the upper leg. You can see the green is more on the outsides and the back. You can see a lot more dark brown as well on the lower legs. They left the feet a little bit plain. You can see this guy does not have peg holes like most action figures do in their feet. That to me is completely fine because I think that this figure looks fantastic, and it's great that he can just stand. I don't have to worry about him falling over. So overall, I'm really floored by the intricate sculpted and painted detail here. I hope that I did a good job of pointing all of this out to you because it seriously is impressive, especially for Black Series. Let's take a look at the Geonosian's articulation here. So he actually has a dumbbell joint at the top of the neck here. So one of the ball joints goes into the top of the neck, one goes into the head. You can see you can get some really nice circular motion out of that. Then we have an additional ball joint at the base of the neck. So you can see we can get a lot of range. So incorporating those all together, we can get them to look kind of down. Not really down in the way that the human anatomy would work, but considering this is how they look when they're looking straight up, you can get them to look down pretty good. You can also get them to look up a decent amount as well. You can get some really nice tilt out of that head and really get that kind of like chicken head motion left and right there. You can get some really nice swivel side to side too. As for the shoulders, these are engineered really, really well. You can see there is a ball joint here inside the torso, and then we have a hinge and swivel. And the way you can move that ball joint in the torso makes it so that you can lift that hinge up to 90 degrees and get that arm straight out to the side. That looks great, and you can kind of bend it so that it comes up and down to the sides of the body. Of course, we also have that 360-degree swivel, which works just great. We have some hinge and swivels here at the elbows, so you can see you can get a little bit past that 90-degree mark at the bend. That's awesome. And then we have, of course, a swivel at the top of the elbow. Then at the wrists, we have our ball joints, or our roly-poly joints at the wrists here. You can see you can get lots of range in every direction on these, and what I love about these over the hinge and swivel style wrists is that these are omnidirectional. They're not just limited to one axis of motion. As for the wings here, very similarly to the fluttering wings I showed you when we covered the accessories, you can see there's a ball joint for each one that goes into the back, and then an identical kind of ball joint system that the fluttering wings had, so that you can really move these wings out in all kinds of different directions, and even have them angled a bit differently too if you want to get this guy in some different, flight poses, or maybe he's angling himself a certain way when he's flying, and you can see you can really get these spread out nicely, and it really gives off a great silhouette for the figure. We seem to have a ball joint here at the midsection, about midway through the torso. You can see some pretty good range in every single direction for this. I will say I'm impressed by this, considering looking at the figure, I wasn't expecting much. The legs are also pretty impressive. We have a ball joint here, which gives you some pretty great range here, and you can see you can even get some good in and out like a thigh swivel would offer, so I'm happy with that. We have, of course, a hinge and swivel at the, I guess I'll call it the knee. You can see that that gives you some pretty good bend. I guess I wouldn't expect much more bend out of that. And then we, of course, have a swivel there. At the dog leg, we have an additional hinge, and look how much you can really crunch these legs up. It's funny how dramatically smaller he gets when you really crunch those legs up, but it's got great range all around. Additionally, we've got another swivel here at the dog leg. That looks great too. And then, of course, at the ankles, we have our Hasbro Classic, the forward-facing pin for rocker, as well as a hinge, which has some really, really nice forward and some great back as well. So overall, guys, this is a fantastic action figure, in my opinion, in the way of sculpt, paint, articulation. I really can't think of anything that I would want to be better on this figure. So I'm really feeling like this is a 10 out of 10 for me so far. Let's get him kitted out with some of his accessories. So of course we'll get our Geonosian with Sonic Blaster in hand. So these guys typically hold these in two hands in the movie and in the shows and everything, but now and again you'll see them with it in one hand. He holds it in the hand. This is kind of how he would grip the blaster, in one hand, and it passes the shake test, but it is a pretty loose grip in the hand. It might fall out if this guy takes a shelf dive. The only time I can think of where I ever see a Geonosian hold a Sonic Blaster in one hand would be in the Clone Wars during the second battle of Geonosis, where there's one riding a speeder and he's firing one of these in just one hand. It's got a pretty decent look to it in one hand here, and you can see that he's got a pretty good center of gravity. This is a little bit of a wider pose, and I think it actually looks pretty natural for the figure. And here's our Geonosian in a pretty basic two-handed weapon holding pose. The left hand just kind of sits on the bottom of the Sonic Blaster, so don't expect to have a good solid grip around it there, but I think the Geonosian looks great holding the blaster in two hands here. And here's a good one-legged running pose with the Geonosian here. I tried to emulate a specific frame from the Geonosis droid factory where one is running directly at Padme and Anakin with the Sonic Blaster out, and I think this is pretty good. He's got a good center of gravity, and that's really impressive considering all of the strange and wacky anatomy of this character. Alright guys, but this is a Geonosian warrior. We gotta use the wings, have them in action here, so we're gonna see how this wing system works. So these should just pop right out. Seems like a very easy way to do that is to lift the whole system up toward the head, and you should just pop those out very easily. Now again, getting the fluttering wings in should be equally as easy here. Just gonna pop those in. You can see those ones went in, no problem at all. And then we'll do the same for the right set of wings here. And then of course, if we're using the fluttering wings, we're gonna wanna put the flight stand in. So we'll go ahead and pop that flight stand in there. You can see it doesn't really feel like it pops into place, but it's got a nice secure hold there. And as you can see, like I mentioned, the way that the sash is sculpted, this will sit very nicely over both the flight stand and the actual front of the figure too. Now, because this guy's actually so tall, I actually had to lift the camera up here with the flight stand, which is great. It'll mean he'll offer more elevation and more dynamic of a silhouette to your shelf. Now, one thing I wanted to mention here was that it looks like, from looking at screenshots from Attack of the Clones specifically, it doesn't look like the wings ever really come up like this. I know a lot of people seem to be posing theirs in more of an X formation like this. However, when you have it posed, if you want it movie accurate, or I should say, the wings tend not to flutter above shoulder level there. So that's going to be a very accurate look. So if you're looking for a more accurate look, this is going to be what you're looking for. And here's a pretty good pose here for our Geonosian. Now, one thing I would recommend if you're trying to figure out more dynamic ways to pose this guy would be, while the flight stand doesn't really offer much motion, you know, forward and back, it does offer some great tilt. You can still get some really nice poses with this guy with the whole body tilted here, and with all the ab crunch and everything, you should be able to get some pretty good posing here. And as you can see, when I mentioned that the conical stand was a bit back heavy, it does a great job of counterbalancing with the figure attached. So this is a great, nice, sturdy stand. It shouldn't really fall over, and I feel like it's going to be really secure sitting on my shelf here. I'm not going to be worried about this guy causing any avalanches or anything. But with that, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this review. This figure is phenomenal. This feels like a very definitive, very premium release for the Black Series in 2026. And honestly, I feel like with this release, there's nothing more I could want if they were to try and do this guy again. I'm very, very satisfied with how this figure turned out. This is a great army builder for people that are looking for separatist army builders other than battle droids, and I think these guys are going to be awesome on display, especially if you buy more than one. But with that, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did and you're not yet subscribed, subscribe to Blitz Transmissions. I've got awesome Star Wars content coming out all the time. If you're an ARC Trooper in my Patreon, you would have seen this review early. If you'd like access to early content, monthly giveaways, and other awesome benefits, the link to my Patreon is in the description below. Become an ARC Trooper for just $4.99 a month. If you're a fan of the reviews I do here on YouTube, or you just want to support the YouTube channel more directly, you could also check out my YouTube channel membership, Rancor Battalion, for just 99 cents a month. It gives you access to exclusive badges, priority replies to my comment section, you get to vote on what I review next for the channel, just like the Patreon members do, and you get to check out all my reviews early here on YouTube. If you'd like some Blitz Transmissions swag, you could always check out the Blitz Transmissions Armory over on Printify. Link to that is in the description below, as well as links to my Discord and all my social media. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll catch you for the next one, and may the Force be with you.
Breaking off. All units, fire at will. 1-2, pick your target. Too many, Captain. Watch your stabilizer, Gold 6. Anybody cover me. I got 2 vultures on my tail. You've got to hold them here. Watch your left. I can't shake them. I'm hit. I'm hit. Where's our reinforcement?